Hello, everyone, and welcome to SCORE Fairfield County's live webinar on Launch Your Own Brand, the fastest way to supercharge any business. I'm Bob Hogan, the webinar coordinator and a business mentor here at SCORE Fairfield County. I'm going to be your host today, and our presenter is Ramon Peralta. More on Ramon in just a minute, but just some brief information on SCORE. SCORE is a nonprofit national partner of the SBA with over 10,000 volunteers nationally. And locally here at SCORE Fairfield County, we have about 100 volunteers with a wide range of industry, process, and subject matter expertise. And we offer 3 primary value-added services, including free one-on-one counseling, which you can access by video, telephone, email, whatever works best for you. And we offer a large range of educational workshops and webinars, about 100 throughout the year, like the one today. And lastly, we have extensive resources on our website, including access to subject matter experts. Our next live webinar will be 2 weeks from today on Tuesday, October 22nd at noon. And the topic is Internet Information, Separating Fact from Fiction, with Bud Freund presenting. Again, you can find specifics on our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org. And if you're on our website, we also have a large number of recorded webinars that cover a wide range of business topics, and you can view those at any time just by clicking on on-demand webinars. Just some useful information and logistics about today's webinar. We have set aside time for Q&A at the end of the presentation. If you have a question, please use the Q&A button at any time during the presentation. It's generally located in the lower part of your screen. Our webinar will end sharply at 1 o'clock to respect your time. The session is being recorded, and a link to the recording will be available on our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org, within the next day or so. It's now my pleasure to introduce our speaker today, Ramon Peralta. Ramon is the founder, CEO, and Chief Brand Officer at Peralta Design. Peralta Design's slogan is, "We launch brands," demonstrates their commitment to evaluating entrepreneurs and businesses through comprehensive digital strategies. Ramon and his team work with clients to analyze what improvements can be made to their businesses, from branding to digital, and how they can get a fast return on their investment. I'll now turn it over to Ramon. Ramon, it's all yours.
All right. Thank you, Bob. Hi. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. This is going to be Brand University, and we're going to talk about launching your brand. A little bit about me, as Bob just shared, I was on the team that started Priceline back in 1998. Worked there for a solid 10 years. I'm what you might call a reluctant entrepreneur, because it wasn't until 2008 when I was laid off that I decided to venture out on my own and start a business. And over the last 16 years, have learned quite a bit and in this space, the brand launching space, building teams, scaling. I've written a book called Launch Your Brand, which this workshop is based off of. So I want to dive right into that, because today I'm running an amazing agency, and through social media marketing, content marketing, building my own personal brand alongside my company's brand, separating those two brands over time. All those tactics, will be covered today. And I want to kind of leave you with one of 2 things. You're going to learn a whole lot about branding and launching your own brand and growing your business through branding. And you're also going to get a pep talk, because I really believe that we all should be kind of going after our purpose and thinking big and dreaming big. And in some cases, we're all guilty of thinking too small or dreaming too small. So definitely dream big, but start small, because simple scales. And we're going to cover all of those tactics. At my company, at Peralta Design, we do branding, web development, digital marketing. We're going to cover all those aspects, but we're going to shift the focus now to your business. I love this slide in particular, because one of the first things we're going to talk about in launching your brand is telling your brand story effectively. Why do I use this metaphor? Yes, as a leader of such a diverse team with unique life experiences, age demographics, skill sets, it feels very much like the Marvel universe, where I'm leading the Avengers, right? And as you begin to build your team, you are going to kind of pick and choose different complementary skill sets that are going to make your company stronger. And your personal brand is a key component to this. Why? Because thinking of this as a metaphor, each one of these heroes gained their superpowers through some sort of adversity or some sort of trauma. For me, if it hadn't been for getting laid off, which at the time was very, very, I would say, not just tragic, but embarrassing. You know, it was something that when you identify with your jobs, you almost have this identity paralysis. Like, okay, my career has been taken away from me. Who am I? Who am I? You know, if I'm not the provider, if I'm not in charge of something in the office, now I'm relegated to a severance package and a future of uncertainty. But it was there that I was able to dig deep and really say, you know what, there are a lot of people like me that are displaced. Those are going to be my first targets. Those are who I want to help. Those are who I want to be a champion for. And so your why gets defined sometimes in those moments of deep soul searching. And you know, I want you guys all out there to just begin by with this open mind as we walk through this journey here of believing in yourself, of dreaming big, of believing you're worthy. If you've been displaced, if you've found yourself in a predicament where you know your side gig is starting to be really an obsession for you, and the daily grind is not it, you have to say to yourself, I am worthy. You know, this is predestiny. This is preordained. This is my purpose. I'm using my gifts. I'm helping people. And if you can monetize that, I call that the Holy Grail, right? So you have to move forward in faith. Another thing that I think will inspire you, especially during these times where we have these hurricanes and we have this election and we have the border issues, and we have all, you know, we still have COVID looming around. We have interest rates that we're all waiting for them to drop, right? So there's this idea of being born in the fire. Every time that there's an economic downturn, we see a rise in new business creation. And I've been dedicated to SCORE for almost the better part of those 16 years as a volunteer, because I do believe that small businesses are the backbone of our economy. Like, I went from being laid off to now being an employer. You know, I have a staff of 10 W-2 employees, and I feel like I'm contributing. I'm doing my share as part of the American dream. So whether it's a side gig, whether you feel like you have to quit your job because it's super toxic, now I don't recommend anyone say, hey, I'm going to go launch my brand, I'm going to quit my job, and you give up on a steady paycheck, because you might not know when the next paycheck will come when you start to build your own business. There is a lot of uncertainty. There is a lot of risk. But again, I believe that if you believe it's preordained, like I believe this was my destiny, I had to put that faith of a mustard seed out there to really move forward in building my brand and launching my business. Now, if you're in that position, do you have a viable business idea? This is very important, because a lot of people have hobbies and they try to monetize them and they don't do so well. So you really have to take advantage of the resources that SCORE has, where you can talk to mentors, you know, get some free business coaching. I hired a business coach for the first 6 months of my business. I didn't know how to balance a P&L statement. I didn't know what that really was. I didn't know how much I could afford to spend to hire someone. I didn't know what I was going to be paying myself. I didn't know what I could be charging or should be charging that was going to be competitive in the marketplace, right? So during these times, you really have to humble yourself, network, seek opportunities. This is the foundation. This is like the seed planting, if you will. Like, being a good person while you're out and about really is the foundation of your own personal brand, because you're trying to build brand ambassadors out there that are going to kind of reach out to other people and open their networks to you. So getting your personal brand ready is probably step one. So you got to start cloning yourself, whether you're building a lifestyle business. We'll talk a little bit more about that. I think this key differentiator is a lifestyle business is what sometimes you hear referred to as a solopreneur. This is somebody who is self-employed, has their own business, quote unquote, But if they go on vacation, they're not making money. If they're sleeping, they're not making money. If they're sick, they're not making money. And so they don't really have a corporation that they can pass on to their children. What they have is a lifestyle business, which means it's a business, it's a job in effect that it can sustain, your trips to Paris or to Florida or wherever you might want to travel to. It sustains your mortgage. It sustains a nice car. It sustains the ability to attend conferences. And so for the many of you out there listening have that. And you need to kind of scale it to the point where it's a business, something that somebody else might want to acquire or that you could exit from or that you could pass on to your children as legacy. So we're going to talk about taking that lifestyle business over into a corporation. But definitely update your headshot. You want to have that same headshot on all platforms. Update your LinkedIn profile, create a personal mission statement, something that's consistent, and set up one-on-ones in your personal network. In Fairfield County in particular, if you throw a stone into a crowd, you're going to hit a realtor or a financial advisor or some sort of banker. They're everywhere. Somebody selling life insurance. But they have networks of people that are different from yours. So I'm a firm believer in setting up those one-on-ones as you start to build your database, you start to build your personal network. I like to meet with people that are seeking work to give them a chance, even if I'm not hiring, I want to talk to them because there may be somebody that I can introduce them to. So cross-pollinate. And this is just the foundation. Okay, so now we're moving into the what you're all here for, the marketing piece. Marketing is a huge umbrella. We're going to cover a lot of these topics. That's why it's called Brand University, because it's a lot. It's a lot to cover, but this will be recorded and you'll be able to come back to it. And I'm going to leave about 10 to 15 minutes at the end for questions. We're going to cover all these aspects. First of all, I'm hoping that there are a lot of entrepreneurs or business owners or lifestyle business owners in the audience. And maybe you run the marketing for a business that's not yours, but you can still think entrepreneurially. Think of your business in this metaphor of a rocket ship. We use the launch your brand metaphor quite often. It's applicable. It's also something that you should take notes on because you should have a metaphor for your business as you describe it, as you tell the story. And in this case here, the brand component, we're going to really tackle these three areas: brand, web, and digital. The brand is the top of the ship, what people will see first, right? It's your logo, it's your story, it's your colors. And we're going to talk about the psychology of colors as well. The hull of the ship, that's your website, that's your digital footprint, that's your LinkedIn profile, right? So you want to Google yourself and see what appears. That's a good homework assignment. Google yourself or your business and see what's out there, what's ranking. And LinkedIn has a good relevancy for search. So you should be very prolific on there. Post at least once a day. And we'll talk about what to post also and what that golden content ratio is shortly. The digital marketing, right? This is your social media, your email marketing, your Google ads, your promotional videos. All of that is, I consider, like the engine of the business because that's what's going to drive awareness on your brand, but it's also going to drive visitors to your website where you can convert them. Some of the things that you want to kind of consider as you're about to take off or blast off is what is the format? Like, what is the structure of your business? Do you have an LLC? Did you register a trade name? Do you have a bank account? All those basic things. Also, creating your brand story. One of the things that I'm very passionate about, I shared with you a version of my brand story, and we'll talk a little bit about how you do that for yourselves. Obviously, create a name, a logo, tagline, a website, all of that. It's kind of like you're building your house before you invite people over to visit. So the marketing toolkit can be considered like the invitation, right? That's what you use to kind of get people to the website. And we'll talk about what a good digital marketing strategy looks like. We're going to cover some Google ads. We're going to cover some lead magnets. I think lead magnets can be very helpful, especially for those fledgling or early stage businesses that are trying to build awareness and build a database. Excuse me. Branding, let's start there. So a lot of people think, okay, I have my logo on a keychain, I'm all set. No, it's so much more than that. There's the mission statement, the vision, the differentiators, the pain points. We'll talk about why pain points are very important. It's a great place to start as you start to figure out what the messaging is going to be. Also, the tone, the voice, right? Do they speak to the target audience that you're trying to reach? Is your audience young people? Is your audience older? And it can't be everybody. If you're everybody to everything at every time, at every place, then you're nobody to anybody. It's like you disappear, right? So we want to figure out ways that'll help you stand out in the marketplace through these strategies that we're going to talk about today. So let's take step one, your brand story. Here's a great place to think about some of the pain points that people have, like what problem am I solving? Especially when you have the fortune of having a new customer, because if you have a new customer that wants to work with you or that was referred to you, one of the first things you can ask them is, well, who were you working with before? Why are you no longer working with them? And they're not going to be shy, especially if they've had a bad experience. So you often in the agency world will hear like, well, they never responded to me. They would never get back to me, or they never listened to me. I wanted this and they kept giving me that, and I felt like I wasn't being heard. Or they'll say, this campaign needed to launch on a certain date because this big event was taking place and they missed the deadline, right? So now you can tell yourself mental note, okay, not missing deadlines, being responsive, making sure we're listening to our clients. Those are all things that your messaging can lead with that will help distinguish you from some of the other competition. I also am a firm believer that if you just simply do what you said you were going to do when you said you were going to do it, you're at the top 1%, right, of all service providers. It's that bad. And so you do that and you're already successful. And again, the Holy Trinity is, providing a great service, using your gifts, helping people, monetizing it, right? I mean, if you can do those three things, you will succeed. Your intentions have to be sincere. So you got a story down. I gave you my origin story. We all have them, even if they make you uncomfortable and vulnerable. You really do yourself a disservice if you don't share that brand story. But assuming you've got the brand story, which may drive what some of the look and feel is, we can move over into the naming and the brand identity. Having a keyword in the name is very, very important. For example, I was on a call with a client yesterday in Florida who they were starting an eye care business. And this gentleman had been working in a retail location. He was a doctor, very well known. Let's just call him Dr. Bob. They were going to have a website domain, drbob.com. And it's like, I suggested that they see if drbobeyecare.com was available because you need a keyword in there. People that would be searching for eye care in Orlando would then find that domain, right? It would appear on a high search, right? And if you don't use a keyword, if you're too vague in the naming, you do yourself a disservice. You have to actually pay to come up and search later. So do some competitive research, see if anybody else is using the name. Definitely include a keyword in the name. Check to see if the domain's available. That's a key piece, because if the domain being available sometimes will steer us in one way or another as to what are we going to name the company. Corporate colors are so important. I can't stress this enough. Like if you had young children and you were dropping them off at a daycare and the daycare was all black paint, black windows, black letters, black door, you might not drop your kids off there, right? Or if you were going to make a large sum deposit at the bank and the bank was pink, right? And it was pink letters and cartoon letters and pink, it looked like a candy store. You might not trust it as far as a place to bring your money. Like colors have a psychological effect. And so what you'll see is financial institutions will use blues or greens with currency, but it's also because those colors evoke trust. Food industry retailers will often use earth tone colors. Like in this case here's a client, Creative Kitchen and Catering. We love them. They're on campus. We designed their branding, and you can see that the word eat pops out, and you can see that we've used the colors that are related to food, right? The browns and the dark deep burgundies or oranges. And you can see how that kind of covers or translate or migrates over to other aspects of the brand. It has to work well as a single color. It has to work well in reverse, which is white on a colored background. It also has to embroider well because it's going to be used, on uniforms and stuff like that. And you can see how it translates over to their web presence. Next Chapter Books is another client of ours. They're located in Trumbull. We love them. They're a special needs used bookstore / coffee shop. So this is a place where students that are aging out or coming out of high school that aren't going to be able to go to college, they have some special needs, some social challenges. They get to work in a real living and breathing place and learn some of these very important life skills, working as a team, running a cash register, stacking books, greeting customers. And so we had to come up with a brand for them. And I love this because it's very simple. It's a coffee mug, but it's also a book, right? And you can see the full name is Next Chapter Books, but you have to also come up with like a debranded version of it, NCB. So it's very important to have that consideration as you're thinking of naming your business. What does it sound like as an acronym? Is it still roll off the tongue? Is it catchy? Is it memorable? Is it confusing? Remember, WWE or WWF got sued by WWF. The World, what was it? Wildlife Foundation. They own WWF and they sued Vince McMahon, and then they became WWE. But it's because of the acronym, right? You can own an acronym. So acronyms are a strong consideration when you're creating a brand. You could also see that the simple version of this brand works well as an embroiderer. As you can see, for those that are seeing the screen, I have the PD logo and I have the PD embroidery on all of our gear, and you see it in the lower right hand corner. So you want to kind of think of that as you're preparing the visuals for your brand. Getting your house in order. This is a key component as we move over to web now. So we've got the brand story, your brand identity. There are tons of platforms out there. You've got to start somewhere. It's okay if you got to start out on Weebly or Wix or Shopify or Squarespace because you can't afford like a full custom WordPress build. It's okay. It's more important that you have a destination where people can find you as you start to build your brand and build your marketing. And I advise people not to rely on social media for their business. And I've seen people do it. Some people are like, I don't need a website. I'm just going to sell cupcakes on Facebook. And it's like, you're giving up a lot of data because yes, people are seeing the cool pictures of all your cake decorations, but without a website, you're not capturing any of the visitor content data that you can use to later market to them. You're relying on social media, and social media is taking all that and they're marketing the heck to those people. You're not. And so you need to build your own database. You need to have your own landing page. You need to have your own calls to action. So a calls to action can be, contact us, order now, free estimate, call us, what you decide what that is for your business, but you need them. This is what a strong, landing page could look like for a business. This is a commercial painting client of ours in Atlanta. When people look at websites, they basically start there. We've used Hotjar heat mapping technology, but they start in the upper left corner. Their eyes go to the top right, then they shoot across diagonally to the lower left, back to the lower right, and then it ends up in the middle. Right, so those places are prime real estate. The logos are usually up in the upper left. The main call to action, in this case, call us now, is in the upper right. And then the secondary calls to action. I don't recommend more than 2 calls to action above the fold, or else you run the risk of confusing people. And I've seen websites where there might be 4 or 5 or 6 things that people can do when they get there, and it's just overload and they just leave. So make sure that your main calls to action are at the top above the fold. And this applies as well for above the scroll, meaning if you saw this on your phone, make sure that the calls to action don't require the user to like look for it, or God forbid the dreaded, pinch and zoom when your site is not responsive. So now that you've got the website, it's time to drive traffic, and this is where we'll start to use some techniques, right, of what you can do. So you're driving awareness, you're driving people back to the website. Definitely set up Google My Business. That's huge. Become prolific on these other platforms like Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. You don't have to be prolific on everything, right? But based on who your target audience is, you should know where they are, and that's where you should be and have a presence. So definitely do that and create content, volunteer, appear places, go to chamber events, document it, post it. We're going to talk about the content ratio shortly, right? Understand the funnel, the marketing funnel. The marketing funnel is a tried and true illustration, but it works well for digital marketing as well. That first opening of the funnel is awareness. This is where your clients are just becoming aware, and they're starting to kind of Google and find service providers that do what you do. And this is where your ad's going to first appear. And they're going to kind of get some awareness about your brand. Consideration is when they're kind of digging deep a little bit more. They're going to the next level to learn more about a particular service. So imagine that you are, I don't know, a home remodeling service or a handyman, and somebody clicks the handyman ad and they go to your website. But when they go to your website, they go immediately to bathroom remodeling. So now you have some information of what they're looking for. So when they go back to social media, they're going to get an ad from you, but it's specific to the bathroom remodeling. It's not the general one. So that's an example of like retargeting. And conversion is when the client has explored all the options, and for some reason they're clicking your free estimate button or contact us button or schedule an appointment button, whatever your call to action might be. The last step in this funnel is retention, and it's so important because they say it's like 10 times more expensive to get a new client than it is to market to your existing clients. So make sure you're keeping your existing clients informed, on the radar, with consistent information. We're going to talk about shortly what that looks like content-wise. Email marketing. This is very, very important, particularly for new businesses that don't have a big database, or businesses that have been like living off of Facebook, and now they're starting to need their own database so that they can kind of build community. Lead magnets are great for this. So a lead magnet is when you give away something. If you are a handyman, you could say, here are the top 5 ways to waterproof your shower, or here are the top 10 ways to keep your home insulated for the winter, to lower your heating bills, or whatever it might be. Those are things that people will be interested in, that position you as a subject matter expert, that you give away for free, that when somebody goes to click on it, they basically have to exchange with you their contact information in order to get it. And now what they've essentially done is giving you permission to market to them. This is an example, 3 examples of what some lead magnet ads might look like. And in this case, some of these have appeared on social media like Facebook, and the one in the upper left right corner, the lobbying one, that appeared on LinkedIn. And why was it on LinkedIn? Is because they were looking for other businesses or other decision makers or other executives as part of their database. They weren't looking for, moms or dads or families or kids or a very kind of random demographic that you might get on other platforms. They were specifically wanted to have a B2B kind of presence. And so every time somebody downloaded this ebook, they would exchange their contact information. And if you're doing this for your business, you can imagine you're giving away something that you might take for granted, that a potential client might see as very valuable. And they've essentially given you permission to reach out to them. And you can say, hey, I noticed you downloaded our ebook. I have an opening this Wednesday. You're also entitled to a free 15-minute consultation. Why don't we do that? And we get together, and now you have an opportunity to learn what do they need. This is probably one of the most important slides. I say this daily, at least to someone out there on social media or in my networks, as a reminder, right? That people don't like to be sold to. And so what people think is like, oh, well, when I go on social and I start promoting my business, I'm just going to go hard. I'm going to go every day. I'm going to go hard. No, 50% of your content should be educational. People go on social media to laugh and to learn, right? So teach them something, share something of value, a tip, a trend, a guide, something that will position you as like, hey, these folks know their stuff in the financial advising world, or these people know their stuff in the real estate business, or these people know their stuff in, I don't know, the landscaping business, whatever your business might be. Make 50% of your content educational. The other 30% entertainment. This is where you can highlight a success story. If you're a landscaper, you might show some real like uh, sped up before and afters that are fun, that show your crew like wheeling a wheelbarrow around and putting mulch in, and maybe it's to a funny song or a catchy beat, but it's entertaining, but it's also showing off what you guys do. And then the last 20% is the promotional content, right? And this is where you can say, hey, here's a new deal, here's a new service we're offering, here's a client testimonial, right? You're promoting 20%. And you're going to get a lot more engagement this way with this formula than if you did it the opposite, which is what I see a lot of, which is where people are promoting 80% of the time and people just get burnt out. They'll just stop following. So try to remember this golden content ratio. I think it'll be very helpful as you develop a content marketing strategy. Social media marketing is excellent. My tip for you here today would be follow your competitors. If you're on social media and you're a baker, follow other bakeries. If you're a landscaper, follow other landscapers. If you're a fitness guru, trainer gal, follow those folks. And you get to learn so much. You get to see what kind of content are they putting out, what ideas do they give you for content, what makes your business different. You're going to see things that you'd be like, I would never post this, fine, right? But you'd also see what gets a lot of engagement for them. So if something gets a lot of engagement for them, look to see what kind of content that is, so that you can make some that highlight the differences in your business, or why they should work with you, right? So definitely learn from your competitors. Google Ads is another great tool for targeting high intent users. And I'm going to give you an example without going into all these boring details. I'm going to give you an example of a campaign that we've run that does very well. And this kind of shows you how Google Ads work here. So on the left, you see a Google ad. That's what people will see if they go on Google and they type in annual report design, or annual report design services, or annual report design company, or annual report design agency. They're going to see this. Then that gives them an ad from us that say, hey, we design annual reports. That once they click that Google ad, and it'll cost us $10 every time somebody clicks on it, right? Because it's pay per click. It takes them to this landing page, which you see in the middle. This is all what you would see like on a phone. So I'm using, in order to get it on the screen, we use like a mobile experience. Now you see the landing page in the middle has a little portfolio that they can click through and flip pages. And then it says, let's get started. That's the call to action. Let's get started. And where does that take them? It takes them to this third panel, which is a little form where they get to answer a couple of questions, tell us the name of their organization, upload an RFP if they have it. But this for us works well because it makes the potential client put some skin in the game. And so when somebody fills this all out and goes through this path, when I follow up with them, not only is it a warm lead for us, but I feel like, this could be a good client for us, because they understand that they've got to put in some work. They understand that this is going to be cooperative and collaborative, right? So you have to decide your path. But this is an example of a Google ad that works well for us. Our budget for this is probably about $500 a month that we spend on this. But if we win one of these jobs, you're looking at a project anywhere between $7,500 to $10,000. So would you spend $500 a month if you could win a $10,000 project with that spent? Yes, that would be considered good ROI, right? So that's what you want to think of. Social is another way. I know I said that earlier when I was talking about LinkedIn, that you didn't want to get like the generic crowd from Facebook, but when you boost an ad on Facebook or Meta, you can choose the demographic, right? If you put $20 behind it or $40 behind it for 6 days or 7 days, it's the simplest way to advertise. It's affordable, and you'll be able to select your audience based on gender, age, location, interest. And you can set how long it would run, and you can send how much, and you could also set how much you spend. And they're very, very effective. So it's a cool way to do it yourself, digital marketing, if you will. As we wind down here, I want you to kind of look at this as this is how I see the digital funnel working. So on the left, think if you do a workshop for your local chamber and you say, hey, would somebody grab this on my phone? I want to get some pictures or I want to get some video of this. You can take that 10-minute speech you give and create shorter clips that are under 3 minutes that you can use on social media. Then if you see one of those really is starting to get a lot of people's attention and people are clicking it, then you can boost that one and have it lead people to your website. And once they get to your website, maybe they'll sign up for a newsletter, or maybe they'll download a coupon, or maybe they'll download a white paper, but now you have their data and you can add them to your newsletter and you can follow up with them on a monthly basis, right? So you can see how content marketing can drive people through this digital funnel and ultimately convert into sales. There are a lot of great AI tools out there. We won't go deep into this, but I do want to mention that AI is everywhere, so you have to embrace it as a tool. These are some of the tools that we use now with AI. And lastly, we're going to just take into this section where we're going to talk about social causes a little bit for the next 5 minutes. If people believe they share values with a company, they will stay loyal to the brand. And more than 80% of millennial consumers expect the brands they support to take a stand on social issues. So please know your audience, pick a struggle, get behind it. It's really what's expected. And if you're not sure what change you can make, like on a global scale, then you can be a good company by doing good locally, right? There are a lot of local organizations that could use your assistance, and community centers and boys and girls clubs and places like Junior Achievement that always are looking for speakers. It's a great place for you, whether you're a lifestyle business or a corporation, to put yourself out there. And that's great content for social media because it's not promotional. And don't think of it as bragging, because some of you out there are going to say, well, I'm not comfortable posting myself when I do this. The Bible says if the left hand is giving something to the poor, the right hand shouldn't know about it. Well, in social media, think of it as inspiring. And Lord knows we need more inspirational, positive stories of change agents that are out there doing the work in the field, right? You're the ground troops making change locally. And it's a great way to align your business's brand with some of these nationally known, well-respected and well-funded brands that have been around for years. Going back to this idea of a lifestyle business, I would recommend you read The E-Myth if you haven't already, by Michael Gerber. He talks about, maybe you don't have a business, maybe you have a job. And in his quote here, he says, and it's the worst job in the world because you're working for a lunatic. So I really think I'd like to move the needle on small businesses. I think over 99% of them don't have employees. And if we really want to move this economy forward, I want you, and if it's what you want, of course, to think of scaling and growing and how you can become an employer. One of the ways you can do that is to fire yourself. If there are some things that you're doing that you're not good at, there are some ways where you can, at a minimum, by mitigating risk, you can begin to scale. You can offer internships, you can hire freelancers, you can have relationships with local universities where maybe an MBA class wants to tackle a project for you. It might be an area that you're not good at, but is vital to the growth of your business. All right. So when you're growing a business and building a brand, you actually become a team builder in chief. Also, I would say to all of you out there, especially if you're in this program now, over 250 people logged on, I think, or registered, that you continue to take advantage of these programs. Never stop learning. There's so many programs out there for you to continue to grow your business. And with social media, you can follow a lot of these gurus that are out there, spreading the gospel of scaling a business, growing a business. You need this. Nobody does it by themselves. And, if you're like me, if your wife is not an entrepreneur, it's very difficult to come home and have these entrepreneur type conversations. So you need to have a peer group. You need to have colleagues that are just as crazy as you are, that will understand why you have to triple your office space, or register for a conference, or buy a new truck, or buy some more equipment in order to kind of better service your clients, right? You need to be part of entrepreneurial masterminds, because I really believe that iron sharpens iron. For those of you that are like working at home, I would say get a street address at least, so you can be around other like-minded people at some of these accelerator programs, or at some of these incubators. I started my business, a very long time ago. But what got me out of my office was I had my home office, if you will, is that I had a client that wanted to come visit me from Dallas. And he said, I want to come check out your operation. I'm going to be nearby. And I said, oh man, I gotta get some temporary office space here quickly. And so I went and found a spot at Regis. I did a 6-month contract with them. I was able to use their office space for 5 days a month. It was like $200 a month. I don't know what it is now. But the day that I was supposed to meet with my client from Dallas, I set up my space. I already knew which path I was going to walk them through, and I had practiced their name and my name with the receptionist. And at 5:30 p.m., the client called me and said, I'm not going to make it. I'm still with this client. I have to head back to JFK, and maybe next time. And here I was with a 6-month contract that I couldn't get out of with Regis. But that act of getting dressed and getting out and being in an environment where I might run into somebody in the kitchen while making a cup of coffee will really begin to expand your horizons and help you think bigger as you grow your business. I mean, every single major corporation that is out there started out small. So there's nothing holding you back from you becoming the next big corporation except the limits of your belief. So I really want you to think big as you walk away from this. My book's available on Amazon, Launch Your Brand. It's based on this workshop series. Those of you that can, you can scan this. Again, this will be on video later, but this will give you access to some free downloads where you can, it's like a little curriculum, a little homework assignment where you can work on your brand story, you can work on your brand identity, you can create SMART goals for your business. All of these things are designed to augment this presentation. I also have a TED Talk, only 10 minutes, but I think it'll be very helpful for those entrepreneurs that are listening to check it out. It's available on YouTube. And lastly, I've just shared my Calendly link. For those of you that are interested in doing a follow-up with me, we can do a 15-minute, just reference SCORE. I'll prioritize it, and we can do a 15-minute chat, and we'll love to hear from you and see how we can help you. Again, I'm going to say thank you to Bob for always thinking of me for these workshops, and I'll hand it back over to you with 15 minutes to spare for Q&A.
Great. That's thank you, Ramon. Lots of great material there, and we do have 10 or 15 minutes for questions. So just a reminder, if you'd like to ask a question, please use the Q&A button on your screen, and we'll take as many as we can over the next 10 or 15 minutes. A few of you were asking in the Q&A during the session about the recording. So just a reminder, it has been recorded. The link will be sent to everyone who registered. Plus, it'll be available on our website within the next day or so. So we do have one question here that's in already, Ramon, from
Yeah.
Kaylee. I have a meal prep service just shy of 3 years. I have a potential client who has asked if we about if we have a carb count. This is something that we do not yet have. What is the best way to go about it while still trying to gain her as a client? I cater to diabetics and to athletes, and her daughter is a type 1 diabetic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is life or death for this person. Um, I would say get the carb count, and it's a great lesson there, and a great example of how our clients are going to drive what we do with our business, not the owner driving what their business can do. So this is a great opportunity for you to get back to this person and say, we're working on that. We're going to look into that and get right back to you, and find an expert. I don't know how you do it. This is not my lane. I don't know how you do the carb count, but either work with a dietitian, and maybe that's the first step towards that dietitian being part of your company. But find a dietitian right now that can work on a project basis, that can give you a carb count, so you can update those labels and you can secure the bag. You have a client right now, and you know what? You may end up being the only meal prep service with the most accurate carb count that works with a dietitian because of this situation. So oftentimes I see business owners neglect or not listen or not pay attention to what their clients are saying, and they go off in a completely different direction because they think that's what they're supposed to do, and then they wonder why their businesses don't do as well had they listened to their target audience. So it sounds to me like you've got a really good customer there that will be very loyal if you came through and were able to provide the carb count. And after 3 years, congratulations, first of all, to have survived for 3 years. I think five is once you reach five, you're golden, so you're almost there. But you can never stop listening to your clients. So I would really take this as an opportunity to grow. Every single time our business has grown, it's been scary. It's required risk. It's oftentimes required additional expenses. But I guarantee you this: every time that we've taken very calculated risk and increased our expenses, our revenue has grown. It's at least grown enough to cover the expense. So maybe you find out what her commitment level might be were you to get a carb count on the foods. If she says, look, I'm willing to buy 20 meals a week or 30 meals a week, then you have it's a very good return on investment if you were to get that answer to her. So I wish you the best, and I hope you will take that as a sign.
Great. Ramon, I would just reinforce that. And I think having the ability to do that is going to help differentiate your business.
Exactly.
Given that you are catering to diabetics and athletes, I think this would help you differentiate and serve this client better.
100%.
Our next one is from FL Accountant. All I can afford right now is Wix, W-I-X. Is there something wrong with using it long term?
Absolutely not. In fact, I love that you have Wix. I love that you have a website, and I love that you need one. Too many of our small business owners try to cut corners, say, I can't afford this, I can't afford that. I'm only going to use social. I'm going to just use my cell phone, right? And then you're unable to set boundaries when you're accessible. When are your business hours? When do you need time to recharge? Where's the data going? We are actually Wix partners, and Wix has actually come a very long way as far as the bells and whistles that come along with it out of the box. So there is absolutely nothing wrong with keeping it and using it long term, as long as you know that the day that you want to part ways with it, you will have to rebuild a website on a new platform. Like Wix is one of those examples of a proprietary platform or a closed platform, if you will, where they have their own sandbox, and you're able to save a lot of money on development and just start like basically picking a template and then paying monthly, a very modest amount monthly. But the trade-off is that you don't own the website. You're kind of leasing it. Good solution for early stage businesses. Why would it be bad long term? The only reason it would be bad long term is if, and this is where the vision comes in. So your F&L accountant, let's say your vision was one day to have a mobile app where your clients can go on as a differentiator, go on your mobile app and look up their account and use a tax estimator function where they might see what their projected returns might be for that coming year if their income didn't change from the year before or something of that nature, then you can't do that on Wix. But if you said, this is something I do want, and I just want to start right now at step A, and by year 2 or year 3, I want to start building this app out, then a platform like WordPress might allow you to access some developers that could help build that for you. And so you're basically starting with a cape, but then you're making an addition, and now it's a raised ranch, and then you make another addition, and it's a mansion. You can do that with WordPress. With Wix, you're going to be limited to their sandbox. As long as you know that going in, and you don't need a whole lot of functionality out of it, you'll be fine for some time.
Okay, very helpful. Our next one is from John. He's asking, please expand on collecting visitor data with a website.
Yes. So basically, you can have forms on your website, and there are, obviously ethical parameters around this, because you'd be surprised how much we give away on a daily basis to the big companies. For example, there was a woman recently that was hurt at Disney World, and she tried to sue Disney World, but because she was using Disney Plus, she had agreed in one of those, user agreements that we all click without reading, that she wouldn't sue, or she couldn't sue Disney. So that's an example, right? Extreme example. As a small business owner, one of the things that you could do is when visitors come in and they want to make an appointment with you, or a visitor wants to download a lead magnet from your, maybe you're a lawyer and you have all of these legal guidelines or contract templates that people could download for free. There's a quid pro quo that you really can't do on social media that you can only do on your website, and that is you can create a form that people have to complete in order to download whatever that free premium item might be. And in that form, you could capture the information that's important to you. That could be, what state are you in? How old are you? What's your name? What's your phone number? What's your email address? What services are you interested in? What services would you like to see more of? What brought you here? All those, whatever you think is going to be helpful to you, you can put into a form. And now you can utilize that data as you decide, how is my marketing working, or what should my marketing sound like? If you were able to look at that data and you said, all of our data shows that all 90% of our customers were born in 1970, right? For example, then you may say, we're launching a new ad campaign and we're going to reference the Gong Show. Well, the Gong Show might be something that those folks might find funny, but maybe if the data said that your average visitor was much older, or came from another country, or was female, maybe they might not get that reference, right? So it may guide you in your messaging. It may give you insight as to what new offerings you should have, but it definitely is going to be more than what Google Analytics will give you. And mind you, Google Analytics is something I didn't really dive deep into, but everyone on this call should have it set up on their website. If they have a website, it's free. All you need is a Gmail address, and you can log into that dashboard, and you can see a lot of data. You can see a lot of data: ages, location, IP addresses, how long they spend on your website. If you're getting visitors and the data shows that they're only on your website for 30 seconds, that's a problem. Maybe there's a particular page they spend a lot of time on. Well, it would be good to know that, so that might be where you put, your promotions, if they're spending a lot of time reading about you or reading your story, things like that. I know it's long-winded, but basically, with your own website, you can put up a form and you can capture whatever data that you wish. And then it's important that you also not just collect it, but that you use it so that you can market better and market smarter and ultimately serve your clients better.
Okay, we got 4 or 5 more questions here. First one is from Jose. Can you briefly touch on branding is what you say about yourself? Brand is what others say about you.
Yes, yes. So it's Jeff Bezos once said, your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room, right? So that is, there's no secret. People love to do business with people they trust, people they like. And so when you have an opportunity to tell your brand story, it's critical that it be consistent and that it be memorable and that it be unique. And that's why I started with that whole superhero references, because all of those heroes got their powers through some sort, like Batman, parents were killed and he was left as an orphan, or Spider-Man got bit with a radioactive spider and then he got these spider powers. There's some sort of trauma that happens. Make that part of your brand story, make it memorable, be vulnerable. If you try to blend in and you leave out what makes you unique or what makes you, and the beauty of it is that nobody's going to have your exact story. So when you're out there differentiating, your brand story is important. Now, what other people are saying about you is what was the experience like when they worked with you, and this is important aspect of securing Google reviews. If you have a client that enjoyed working with you, part of your process consistently should be to secure a Google review. That Google review is going to show up on Google My Business, and when people are seeking to do business with you, they're no longer really relying solely on the Better Business Bureau. They're looking at your Google reviews, and those are becoming very, very important. You could even have them embedded into your website so they appear there as well. So telling that consistent story, making it repeatable, highlighting your differentiators, all of those things are going to help build your brand, and putting out good content. You want to have a reputation of someone that's helpful, that's knowledgeable, and that's good to do business with. And I believe in abundance, and I believe you'll attract all the clients that you need to make your business successful.
Okay, next one is from Eileen. How do you identify your target audience? We are wholesalers of HVAC and sell to contractors, but there's a lot of competitions from better brands.
Yeah. Well, first of all, don't compete on price, because I think people will just leave you for price. There's always going to be somebody cheaper. So you have to really, I would say, you've already got your target audience. If you're wholesaling, you're not selling to mom and pops, right? You're not selling to the customer directly. You're white labeling it. So I wouldn't expect you to have a strong presence on Facebook, but more or less making sure that you're tapped into where those contractors are. If they're perhaps making partnerships with other suppliers, being at supplier conferences, being on those supplier websites where you can bid on large supplier contracts. And then also listening. I think in your space, as an HVAC for wholesalers, I think digital surveys are very, very important. Finding out what's important to you in a vendor. How often are you purchasing? What was your experience like the last time you purchased? Getting a sense of what the pain points are. And some of them might say, we're willing to pay more as long as the products are delivered to us on time. Okay, well then that's something to consider. Maybe in your messaging, you focus on being able to deliver on time and not focus so much on hey, we're having a flash sale. I think to answer your question, you've already identified your target audience, but now I think you just have to probably ask them what do they want a bit more clearer, and that can be done through email surveys, or maybe at the end of every transaction, there's a couple of questions that you ask them, or maybe they could even qualify for a discount if they answer some questions for you. And so doing some market research at this point would probably be beneficial.
Maybe we got just time for one more quick one from Naya. Do you recommend for business owners to build a personal brand along with the business brand itself to reach more people? And does it depend on the industry?
That's a great question. I don't know if I can answer it in a minute. But in the beginning, the personal brand and the business are typically the same because you're just starting out. What happens is as your business starts to scale, you have to start to separate the two. A good example of that are realtors. Realtors have their own personal brand, but then they also represent a particular realtor brand. And then at some point, a lot of those realtors end up launching their own realty company or their own investment firm, but they take that clientele with them. It goes back to people wanting to do business with people they like. And as much as some of you out there might hate to be in the content creation space, or you might like, I hate, social media and all this, today's consumer expects the business owner to also be a content creator. So you have to get comfortable with it because that's just where we are. And I wouldn't say it depends on the type of business. There may be some cases where, hey, we're always going to be low bidder. We're keeping a low profile. We just have enough of a website to get vetted. I understand. But if you're trying to actually move the needle as a business, I still believe the fastest way to do that is with a strong content strategy, which means you will have to build a personal brand for the business owner and one for the business itself.
Great, thanks, Ramon. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for questions today. Just as a reminder, recording of the webinar is available within the next day or so on our website under on-demand webinars. Our next live webinar is 2 weeks from today, Tuesday, October 22nd at noon, and the topic is Internet Information, Separating Fact from Fiction with Bud Foy presenting. Again, more specifics on our website. And again, if you would like to take advantage of free individual counseling, you can use the yellow bit.ly link on the screen, or you can just go to our website and click on the Request a Mentor button. We'd really appreciate it if you'd fill out your evaluations that are being sent at the end of the webinar. They help us a lot. And on behalf of SCORE, I'd like to thank everyone for attending today's live webinar. And in closing, a special big thank you to you, Ramon, for the great information today. And enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. And we'll talk to you next time. Thanks.
Thank you.
Nick.